Welcome to Openrelationshippodcast. We have an open and honest conversation from A to Z as it pertains to the LGBTQ plus community and beyond. I'm your host, Rodney, and you can follow me on IG at I am Rodney Wash.
I'm your host, Marco DePrence, and you can follow me on IG at Marco DePrence.
I'm Shazam. You can follow me at _kidandplay_.
And I am your host, Solomon. You can follow me at Solomon E Stretch on IG.
Nobody knows their
We will
names.
get to the guests
Shortly. After these commercials.
But you guys, openers, we have made it to the momentum. 50 episodes. Woo! But it's season 2, episode 19. But like, I am just really thankful. I really want to take this moment out to thank all my co-hosts on the panel. I'm going to start with my left, Solomon Mike Kelly. I just love you. What's wrong with Kelly?
No.
Who's Beyonce? I know it ain't you.
Bitch, me. It ain't no questions.
Girl, you're Matthew. You're the manager, girl.
We'll get to you, LaToya.
Girl, I will grab my own luggage and get the fuck.
Get the fuck out. No, but like, honestly, like, Solomon, you are like my rock. You keep me calm when I want to go over the ledge, you know, so I just want to say this, thank you for keeping the journey with me. I know it's not easy doing this, but, you know, it takes a team and you to put the T in team. Team, T-E-A-M-E.
I don't think.
All right.
No, yeah, I'm drinking. Come on now.
Try to give her testimony, girl.
Marco.
I'm gonna just let Rodney have it for tonight.
Marco, I just love you so much. You just bring like calmness to the podcast. When we get rowdy, you just like the eye in the storm. You just stay here.
This is starting to sound like the end of DC3. Remember what?
Wow.
And here's your luggage. And good old Shazam.
Hey, girl.
How you doing?
You know he's forever Michelle. But I like Michelle. Like it's a balance. You know what I mean? Like you just need that balance, and I feel like we all like really connect with each other, and I appreciate that. We don't really have any issues, and that's a blessing. And I feel like if we ever do have an issue, we're able to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And just thank you all, and the openers thank you all too, because y'all are 2 new people, but y'all have added so much to this platform. And me and Solomon both just thank you for this, being who you are.
I would like to add that Michelle closes out the melodies. She makes sure the harmonies are well. And
She does.
She does.
Thank you, Rodney. I would like to thank my family for picking me. My openers who I love.
I thank you.
I love you, Atlanta.
But enough of the sentimental shit. We about to get into the collection, baby.
She's so
And
happy.
now we have a plate. Hallelujah in the sanctuary. So what this is, you guys, this is our collection plate where you can donate and help support and pay for all this good production. You know, we got to pay for our good old clothes and things. This shit ain't cheap. And since it's 50 episodes, we want $50 for each opener.
Come on.
Bless us. And how you can do that in every
really do sound like
description. I know, right? In every description.
Come put it in my
$50 for
head.
Hold on.
every year.
Let me know. Hold on. Before while we are giving, you can just pass it down, baby. Thank you. We take everything. Jangle. Pass it down. Pass it down. Pass it down.
Lord, yes.
Now watch the people steal. Put it right there.
Well, a man robbed God.
But how you can give openers, you can click the link in every podcast description where platform lists us on. You can click that link and donate, and also go to our website and click the donate button. Now, Solomon will tell us how you can support for free, because free helps too.
So to further support us, we absolutely appreciate your DMs on IG. We appreciate when you guys text us if you know us. But we would also appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Holy Trinity.
And when you make your comments, give us some content. Like, we really want to know what you guys think. And
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to use this opportunity. So, just like Rodney was saying a little while ago, the work that we do is not easy. And sometimes, the comments can be a little, they can be a little, how many times we've been told we going to hell?
Child.
Yeah.
Y'all get those?
Well, if I'm
Yeah,
going to
we get
hell, I got a
those.
first class flight.
Okay.
Said if.
But we even appreciate those comments because we love to hear how you all think. We love to know what you think of us. And we love to know that you're watching.
There you go.
Even though we be trying to figure out how you found your straight ass on our gay ass podcast.
Taking tips on how to clean out.
Okay, get you a primary care provider, swab that booty hole.
But also, don't forget to give us 5 stars on Apple because we are 5-star bitches. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum.
And also, sitting next to me, I have our special guest of the evening, Jay, the gentleman from Dear Black Gay Man Podcast. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, yeah, tell our openers about you, your podcast. How did it start?
Well, I am an opener. I'm very proud of that. I'm
Well,
clear
thank
about
you.
that.
Look, hallelujah.
I do be listening to y'all and the shenanigans that ensue. So it's very exciting to be here. Thank y'all for having me. I am Jay the Gentleman. That's Jai, the gentleman on IG. And I host Dear Black Gay Men Podcast. We started a year ago, a little over a year ago, when I got stood up for a date. And I sat down in front of a mic and said, if I'm getting stood up for a date, other people are getting stood up for a date. So let's talk about what that means and our feelings. And since then, we have grown and expanded, and the podcast is growing. I'm very, very excited about it. You can follow us at Dear Black Gay Men. I don't know where I'm supposed to look because I don't want to look at the TV.
There's cameras everywhere. One of them will catch you.
Okay.
That's why we need donations.
All right. So, yeah, you can follow at Dear Black Gay Men on all social media. And I'm really excited. We'll be in Washington, D.C. for our live show on September 8th. So it's very, very exciting. So, yeah, Dear Black Gay Men, it's happening. It's a thing.
Yes.
Well, let's start it. So, good girls. One thing I do appreciate is a good old banter back and forth. As I said earlier, I'm gonna say this now. It's only a couple of gay podcasters out there that really have a reach, and we're not always going to agree with one another, and that's perfectly okay. Yes, we could be catty and go back and forth. We could do that Erica and Johnson say, girl, you know what we can do. But it's very seldom when we come together and just have an open and honest conversation and be candid and real. So, Mr. J did not agree with my how I would raise a child that was transgender. And I listened to his podcast. I was like, child, is he gonna try to read me for filth? Or is he just gonna I didn't know what I was gonna get. I was like, girl, let me get ready to go off.
Okay.
But then when I listened to it, it's good to hear things from a different perspective, right? Not saying I agree with everything that he said, but it's good just to have a conversation. So that's why he's here today, and actually has a dope podcast. Like, when I listen to podcasts, like I'm talking to my best friend. Like, it's just really intimate. It's like that late night talk show feel. And some of the men be fine on that, child.
And do.
I'm like, oh.
You mean me? Like, I'd be fine, right?
Yes, and your guess.
I don't know.
So wait, for the openers
That's not how that works.
see-
But that's not how that works. Like,
So for the openers that didn't see the episode, where there was an episode where we discussed Neo's comments, and Neo made comments about if his child decided they wanted to be transgender, what he would do, blase, blase, blase. So that's what sparked the discussion. And Rodney's being very candid about it. Rodney's sound clip was paid like 14 times in the podcast, and it was funny as hell. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So, let's see how I want to start this conversation. So, what did you like about what I said about the transgender of raising a child?
first, the baseline is I like that you talked about it because Neo is fucked up. Point blank, period, for me. He is Like I remember the years when Neo was like one of the closet queens, and we was trying to figure out if he wasn't one of the girls, and apparently he's not. Although he could still be. Who knows? But I think that the reason why I differed is because I knew I was gay. I didn't have the language gay, but I knew I was gay in like the first grade with a boy that I saw. I knew the way I felt about this boy was not the way I felt about other people, right? And the idea that if I can tell for myself when I'm 5, 6 years old that I'm a man, I'm a boy, I like him, he's a boy. If I have that a level of awareness around gender expression, then my curiosity was, well, why what is so special about 13 to where we now hear and acknowledge and affirm the expression or even questioning their gender expression? Like, why that age?
So this is why, because I too like the boys at a young age. However, my mom didn't play. You didn't have no boyfriend, no girlfriend coming over my house. You ain't kissing nobody. You do things at a certain age. Like, you can like it. You can say how you feel, what you feel, but you're not going to act on it until I feel like you're age appropriate. And that's why I was coming from being a transgender child. I would love my baby now. Couldn't nobody come talk about my child. If my child was in the house, had on nails, bitch, that's my child. That's my child at the end of the day. But to me, children change their minds all the time. And yes, we can talk about how we felt as being a child, like another person. But I really thought I was everything growing up. But my mind was so impressionable. Everything I saw, I said, ooh, I'm this. I feel this. I feel that. Like, hell, I was making damn mud pies and trying to eat mud outside. So I saw somebody do it on TV. I said, I'm going to make a cake. You know, like, that's how, not saying kids are that naive, but they are very naive. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you grow up, I don't want my child to be like, oh, Daddy, I felt like this, but now I'm changing. However, we would go to therapy, right? We would go to therapy. I want to make sure my child understands that is not just like, I'm gay, I like boys, right? You can go back and say you can be straight later. But when you alter your body and when you change things, that's hard to reverse, right? If my son said, oh, I feel like I'm a woman, and we go to the operation table at 15 or 16, whatever they feel like, and we start, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it all the way. You're going to be a bad bitch. Like, we ain't going to have no masculine features on you. You're going to be that girl, okay?
But even that, Rodney, is dictating how another human being expresses.
It's still a child.
But first, like, do you expect a 5-year-old little boy or girl to come to you and say, I feel different, and then they go under the knife that day?
No, I didn't say that. That's why I said at 15 or 16. So once that's
done... But affirming
done,
their gender doesn't mean they get some type of surgery.
Well, if they wanted to do that, let me just put that out there. If they don't have to. If they wanted to, I want to make sure that we have strict therapy sessions, one-on-ones with them, and you understand what you are doing. Because once you do that, you cannot go back.
But I think there's a difference between gender expression and sex changing. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when the conversation that you guys are having is you're like blending definitions. And so there's like a difference between transgendered and transsexual. And so...
That's true. Well, I'm speaking from, transsexual.
So from the transgender perspective, if a child were to come to you and say, and this is just for everybody in the room, this isn't me asking just Rodney, but if your child were to come to you and say, Daddy, depending on how you're labeled in your household, Daddy, I feel, and this is your son, right? I feel like I believe that I'm a girl. Mm-hmm. How do you handle that?
If you 6 or 7, it's going to be acknowledged. We're going to acknowledge how you feel. Because, again, I want to make sure that my child can talk to me about anything. Because I know how I feel when you can't talk about certain things with your parents. And I don't want my child to feel that way. However, we're not going to act on anything of that nature. If you want to wear things around the house, fine. And when you go outside, you're going to be your born gender
So
till you get to a certain age.
do you think that that is going to perpetuate them to not be proud of who they are? You're like saying, okay, if your son decides he wants to be, he's saying, Dad, I'm a girl. Like, I'm that bitch. I'm that girl, Beyonce. Okay? That's what your kid's saying, walk around the house. Now, you're letting him wear skirts and nails in the house, but then when he goes outside, you make him dress like a boy.
Right.
You don't think that...
Cause that reminds me of when I said I like this boy, and my mama said don't do that shit outside. That's the same thing, and I had so much shame about who I am and how I express, because ultimately, with the message the child is receiving, the message I received is whatever you say you are is not okay.
It's not okay. It causes trauma.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to say it's not okay.
But your actions,
you're
if you're
saying-
telling
But let me
It's
say
not
this.
okay.
Hopefully my child will know how much I love them and care for them, and that I would do anything for them, literally. But some things we just not going to do.
I think most parents feel that exact same way, but if you tell a child in the house you can play with Barbie dolls, but when you go outside you better only play with cars, that's when it's going to start become confusing, and there's trauma there. That's when they're like,
still a
okay, my
child.
parent...
But at what point does a child become a human being though? That was my
You're a human
only
being when
issue.
you're born.
But if they are a whole human being and they are saying I feel this, I want this, I desire this, I express as this, and you parent are saying you can be you in these isolated incidences in the house when it's just private or whatever, then what you are teaching them is who you are is not good enough to go outside.
I'm
Well,
not going to say that.
hold on.
What you
on.
about to say, Marco?
I want to ask you a question, Rodney. So, why can they do certain things inside versus outside? So-
Because when I was a child, whether you were straight or gay, you didn't have no boyfriends or girlfriends at 7, and you could have liked the same opposite, whatever it was. You had certain rules you had to go by. You're not old enough to make certain decisions for yourself. You're not old enough to experience certain things.
So if your son wanted to play with Barbies outside, that's not okay.
If I don't care about that. That wouldn't bother me. You just
Or
want me-
wear a dress like, Dad, hey, today I want to wear.
No, we're
I
not
want to
doing
feel like
that
a
in the
princess.
first grade. No, we're not. We're not. And if that makes me a bad parent, and I want to wait until my child's a certain age to do that, then I'll take that role. That's fine with me.
So I want to be clear. Like, this isn't about bad parenting.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's about what does it mean? And so I watched your podcast. I listened to all the commentary. And before season 1, I had only known Rodney from just passing him by. But from watching the evolution of Rodney from season 1 to now, like, I have a better understanding of who he is, and I hope that our openers have a better understanding of who he is and what his values are. And so Rodney, and one of the comments that I saw on your podcast, someone made the comment about this is why people talk about credit scores and this, that, and the other. But that's, we talk about credit scores because that equates to safety. That equates to stability.
I agree with that.
And so knowing Rodney, as I have come to know Rodney, a lot of things come to safety and a lot of things come to stability. And I have seen Rodney react certain ways when it comes to family. And so I don't know if Rodney has the vocabulary for it, and so I'm not going to speak for you. But I can say from observation, like, Rodney cares and Rodney protects. And so if Rodney, this is me now asking you, Rodney,
Mm-hmm.
like, when you think about your kid, did we say first grade, preschool, whatever?
Yeah.
First grade, preschool, your son wearing a dress to school. What do you think?
For one, I would kill a bitch over my child. You already know. I think everybody know that. If my child come home and say anything.
That is absolutely clear.
So, for me, I think it's more of protection. And I can agree with that much because I might be okay with it. But I don't want my child going out there at 7 being bullied and talked about and picked on for who they want to be. Now, like I said earlier, my child will know that daddy will support anything that you want to do. But we're going to wait till a certain age to do certain things.
Can I offer something?
Yeah.
So I was bullied as a kid because I was the little boy that had a high-pitched voice and ran funny. And the reason why I was bullied.
How'd you run?
like a girl. But like I used to hold my titties when I ran, even though I was like first grade and had no titties, but I would run like it was a thing. But I will say that I was bullied because when I came home, my mother and my father and my family structure taught me that who I am, what they knew me to be, because they had language that said gay. I ain't have language that said gay. I just knew I was different. But what they taught me was that I'm not good enough. And that made me susceptible to bullying. And what I know and what I try to instill in my niece and what I try to instill in other children in my life is that who you are, regardless of we in the house or out of the house, is enough. Now, you might not fully understand who you are, and my job as the adult is to help you give language to whatever it is you're experiencing, whether it's a sexual difference or a gender difference. I want to understand what you think this means. But I'm not, the only reason I had a such issue with your perspective is it felt like you wanted to silence what they're experiencing until this landmark happens. And who knows if that landmark even means something for that child? Who knows if they're one thing at 11 and another thing at 13, or if they're who they are at 4 is the same as who they'll be at 40. We just don't know. And I don't believe that any child is, I don't believe any person, we can apply any standard to one person as we do to another. Just like I can't say what I would do to my children in that instance. What I hope I would say is I want my children to be loved. I want them to be affirmed. I want them to be heard and respected. And I want them to know inside the house or outside the house that daddy, dad, Jay, whatever they call me, is on their team before anything else. I don't give a damn what anybody else says about them. I'm on your team.
You know what I really appreciated from your conversation was that you said, I don't have the capacity to speak to this because I'm not a parent. You know, I don't have the capacity to speak to this because I'm not transgendered. And for any youth that is out there without the vocabulary, like, they don't necessarily have the capacity to speak to it because they don't really know, right? They don't have the social cues. They know from their internal knowing, but they don't have like all the social stuff that society brings. And on the flip side, like, nobody, and these are for the first-time parents, like, first-time parents don't really know, like, they don't have the capacity. And even parents who have done it over and over again, they don't really have the capacity to parent a child who is gay or transgender because they don't have the experience. And I'm not saying that, I mean, the world is changing, the world is evolving, and so there's so much information out there. And still, like, this, I can only speak for myself, and I know we had this conversation not too long ago. You know, I had this conversation with my mother, and we had this very open and candid conversation about her parenting, and she apologized. She was like, if I had ever said anything that hurt you or made you go inward, like, I'm sorry. And she was like,
no better.
She didn't. And so the only thing that I could do was look over my history in the middle of that conversation, look over my history, and still acknowledge how much she loved me and protected me. And she gave advice based off of her worldview, right? And her worldview, although it was narrow based off of her experiences, still guided me in a way that protected me. Like, I'm alive. How old am I now? 41. I'm 41 and I'm alive. And there have been we've had so many conversations about so many people who are not here today. Like, people who haven't made it into their 30s, people who haven't made it into their 20s. And because of my mother's guidance and wisdom, however she packaged it, it allowed me to be here today. And so, and
that changed me. I got that. I heard that in a big way.
I'm glad. Thank you. And I can also acknowledge that, you know, along the way, I had to make the decision not to listen to some of the advice because, and I had this conversation with her too, because, you know, my mother is the type of person that she would say, work a job for 30 years, 40 years, get a retirement, and then be okay. And then I was like, that doesn't fit with my spirit. And then so one day I was sitting at my job and I was just over it. And I called her, or actually she called me, and she was like, hey, how's it going? I was like, She was like, well, what's going on? I was like, well, I just applied for a job at a gym. And she got silent, and I was waiting for it, and I was like, she's about to tell me the speech. And then she was like, you know what? Things typically work out for you. I'm going to pray that it does. And in that moment, it was like, she sees me. And it didn't have to be about sexuality. It didn't have to be about anything. But it was just her acknowledging that I am on my own journey. Right? And so
that's big.
There are, like, yes, I understand that we have these children who we pour into. They have their experiences. And I feel like I'm talking forever. But there's this flip side where you have this parent who hasn't done it before. And even if they have done it before, sometimes
did it with you.
They didn't. Exactly.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
That's what I got. That helped me understand you a little. That helped me understand you a little bit better.
Well, thank you.
Think of him as an old Southern Baptist church auntie, and you'll understand it.
From Mississippi.
From Mississippi, yeah.
Sometimes grandma.
Well,
who can throw down in the kitchen.
We hope Oprah said.
You can cook.
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, you throw down?
Yes, I can.
You didn't know
Big Mama, your arm.
That But Oprah's
Ooh.
want to say that we want to welcome you to that conversation in the comments, but that's how you handle conversation, people.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to be nasty and mean and go below the belt. This is why we have community, right? To have conversation to help change perspective, change the mindset, and evolve and grow together. But now let's get to the topics, okay?
Yes.
Well,
Let's get to it.
before we get into the topics, Marco, Shazam, did y'all have anything to add?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I told y'all I'm an observer today. I very much so was excited to hear this conversation. As Rodney mentioned, and I always say, although we like throw our shade, we do our little kikis, it's always great that we have discussions that are important and discussions that people consider taboo. That was like just being open and honest in true fashion. That's one of the main reasons I want to be an open relationship podcast, because we talk about things that everybody else don't want to talk about. People don't want to talk about transgender. People talk about sex, but they don't want to talk about sexual health. They don't want to talk about the taboos, the kinks and things like that. But we are not afraid to touch those things. So tap in.
Snap.
I just want to say I love the conversation and the understanding of it. I've also been on both sides of it, as talked about on the podcast. When I first came home with my boyfriend, my mom was like, don't bring that gay shit around me. So
Keep it on the
like,
porch.
I'm always, if I do decide to have kids, I'm always going to support them, whether they're 5 or fucking 30, like whatever they decide to do. So
Before we go, though, I will say, putting Rodney's voice in your podcast and redoing it over and over. I was in my house crying this morning. I would say, if my child was 13, I'm like, damn, that's time number 2. He's tearing his ass apart.
But at the same time, I was like, not somebody over here messing up my co-host.
I was like,
and so I was like,
I love Rodney down, but that was funny, baby.
we're gonna get into it. But then at the same time, I was like, you know what? This is why we do this, right? Because we all have different perspectives, and there are people out there who have different perspectives, and I'm so glad you are here today to share yours.
Thank you.
And I also think that like Rodney's perspective is important. Like that voice out there exists, and you asking the question, all of us asking the question like why or how. Like I think that's important, because there was a time where I heard something that I didn't like and I shut down. And now through this experience, we get to teach people like, no, you need to ask the questions.
A lot of us have that experience, hearing something we don't like and shutting down. Shout out to Rodney, because Rodney slid in the comments when I posted that and invited me to the show. That was probably one of the first times that I was like, oh, because I really I saw Open Relationship Podcast in the comments, and I said, here they go, they about to read me. And then I'm also thinking, it's 4 of them, it's 1 of me. What am I supposed to do? I'm about to get ambushed. Shazam got this big ass body. Marco is Trey with this voice. Rodney got all kind of crazy opinions, and then you gonna rip me to shreds in a very professional way. So I'm like, what angle is this comment coming from? And then, but also when Rodney he signed the comment Rodney, so I was like, I knew who it was. But when you invited me, I was like, oh, I guess we can have a conversation. Mm-hmm. Sure, of course I'll be there on time.
And I love it.
He sent me 6 emails that said 8:45. I said I'm gonna be there on time. I'm gonna respect y'all time. I ain't gonna be the one that's late, so I'm here for it. I'm very excited to be here.
Get to the mess.
Yes, let's
get to the messy.
Let's get to the mess.
You're not just with the mess, are you?
It's 50 years. I'm 50 years, child. Well, 50 years. Give us $50 like it's 50 years, child.
Yes.
It's
So,
50 episodes.
I have one question. How do you feel about living with your partner before you're married? That's what I'm going to assume.
I'm all for it. I love living with my partners. Yeah.
A wise philosopher, Deborah Cox, once said, absolutely not.
Why though?
I don't want to. I don't believe in giving somebody husband benefits until you're my husband. You're my boyfriend until you're my fiance and then you become my husband. Giving you husband benefits and you're a boyfriend, I don't like it.
So
not for me.
My question is, do you pick and choose what you want to do with your boyfriend versus your husband?
No.
Do you have sex with your boyfriends?
Yeah.
Is that not considered like a husband duty in a traditional way, if you get what I'm saying?
Nothing about what I do or we do is traditional.
Yep.
Ooh. Okay.
So then how do you stay so committed to no cohabitation before you marry them?
I've never wanted to live with a partner.
Oh.
But,
So it ain't
but
the
when I get
husband
married,
piece.
yes. But like when I'm dating and you're my
So
boyfriend,
it's
no.
not the husband piece, it's you. You don't want to live with nobody.
No, it's not. I want to live with my husband. Me and my husband are going to live in, we're not going to be separate houses. We're going to be right on top of each other. Like, I want to do that, but not until we're married.
On top, you say.
Well, depends on how I'm feeling that night. Do I have on my courtroom bob or my bust down Nicki Minaj? Get away from me. I'm getting high.
Okay. So how do you feel?
After my last relationship, I probably won't be living with anybody anytime soon.
Elaborate.
So my last relationship was, although we moved into a different unit because it was an apartment, it was in his building. It felt like it was his house, and I never felt at home there. And I have such a home feeling when I'm at my house that I can't compromise that for anybody.
So would you let somebody move in with you?
Hell no.
Oh, shit.
No. Going in my cabinets and in my refrigerator, hell no.
So do you
It's
want to
not-
live with your husband?
I want to, if I were to cohabitate with someone I was together with, it would have to be we are going 50-50 on this totally separate space. It can't feel like my home or yours. It has to be ours.
So y'all gonna
and
get
if we
something
were
together.
to separate, the expectation would be we are both leaving this space because it's our house.
And going back to your own places.
Going back to
essentially, or
wherever we going. I don't give a
Okay.
damn at that point because we ain't together. But I can't ever feel like I'm not at home. And for me specifically, I never felt at home up until, I turned 37. And so having a home feeling is so important to me. And I could never have that if it was your house or my house or your apartment or mine. It has to. I have to always feel at home when I'm home.
I've always said that too. I'm like, if I get married and say me and my husband both have a mansion, we got to buy a new mansion. The other mansions that we both got, mine and his, I'm not
Rental
moving.
property, Airbnb.
Because who else
sell
done been
it,
in there?
do
I don't.
something else.
That's too big, child.
No, because who else didn't live? Has somebody else lived in this house? Has somebody else tip across these hardwood floors?
That's like asking who you had sex with. That's like how many sex parts you had before me, bitch. It's a new
No, that's
slate.
different. Moving into your house and you done had 12 other boyfriends in this house, or
'Cause I can't get
like
out
that.
there.
I definitely agree
I don't
with
like
that.
that. I don't like that, Rodney.
Yeah,
I'ma
I
say-
agree with that
You're not
too.
about to move
Yeah.
niggas in my.
Like if I were to, I would live with my partner.
Yeah.
You
I would too.
I did it,
would.
of course, premarital, and I enjoyed it. I like how we navigated the space together. And at the same time, like I agree with Jay, like the I have to have that home feeling. Because if I don't, then I get disorganized. Like I start moving things around, and it's either weekly or monthly, and I'm trying to create the space to be home. So I would want us to move into a space together as opposed to one of us moving into the other space.
Do you want to get married?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Hell yes.
Wait a minute. I thought you watched the show.
Oh,
I mean, I do watch the show, but it's one thing to be like sitting with my iPad and sitting here.
Oh, I've made it known several times.
Yeah.
day one.
I do remember that episode now that I'm thinking.
Baby.
Episode.
I mean, episodes, plural.
Baby, 1 through 50. He didn't say he wanted to be married, child.
But, okay. I don't want to take over there.
No, you're fine.
I'm trying to hold my
You're the
questions
guest.
together.
No, you can ask questions if you
ahead.
want to. For me,
Every time you say that, I get nervous.
it's for me. Like I tell people, for Rodney, not for the world, for me.
That means it's going to be controversial, child. That's like saying no shade, but
But girl,
I think anyone who is about to be married, just like you try out sex, you should try out living, because some people have totally different living things. Like you have to wash the dishes, all the dishes in the sink. I like a house in order. I'm very much structured, clean. When I come to somebody's house, whether it's a quickie or whatever, and you got shit everywhere, I feel like you're crazy.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. I don't think you have to live with somebody to know that.
yeah.
You just
I
say it
mean,
a quickie if you go to their house, you see that.
You don't ever know who you live with till you actually live with them. You can always
Because, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that will clean up their house for guests.
I feel like if you're dating somebody long enough and you're about to get married, you going to know what their habits are in their house.
You definitely.
Come on,
I
y'all.
don't think so.
All you gotta do
You
is check the bathtub.
I don't think you really know a person
Pull that
who
shower
actually
curtain back.
live with them.
that clean. See what type of face wash.
Y'all ain't never been to a
using
back and been to the
Look
bathroom,
underneath the
shower back.
cabinets. Oh, baby, there are ways to find
But
out
I,
if
do,
it is clean.
I actually very much agree with that, because I think that getting so deep into a relationship and not understanding how someone keeps a home, that can break the relationship on its own. Because that goes back to not feeling at home. Like it can be a beautiful house, it can be perfect for me, but then if you got your junky ass shit everywhere, then I'm just gonna feel not at ease. And so I agree.
Yeah, it's
Elmo
just,
for that. We finally agreed on something.
yes, hallelujah.
I mean, we've agreed on several things. You don't know that, but we agreed on several things.
Not elbow.
So let's move on to the next topic. What are your views on open relationships in the gay community? You feel like it's a cop out?
Why is everybody?
Girl, you got your lips.
You did a whole 360.
I don't. I really believe if it works for you in your relationship, it works for you. I feel like we have all these titles, top, bottom, verse, and shit like that, where, you know, if you and your partner have an understanding of why we're together, and maybe you add somebody, you know, wherever you add them at, go for it. If it works for you, it works for you.
Have you been in one?
No, but I'm open to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, I just, yeah. So my last relationships, like, I've always been, like, monogamous. But, like, now I'm just, like, I just don't think one man is enough for me. Like,
Could you really handle that, though, Marco? That's knowing you. Could you really
You're a
handle
Cancer, too, baby. I don't know if you
like
could.
I can be, like,
You're a Cancer.
That's the same thing we said.
that? Yeah.
I just really feel like communication goes a long way, and you just have to know what you want and how you like to be pleased emotionally and physically.
I see your
So,
man
like-
come in the house telling you this, and you just go to fuck off. Honestly.
He
No,
leaving
I-
at 3 o'clock in the morning to go get some ass a dick.
No, it
Right.
don't
Hey,
work.
babe,
No,
I'm going to
no,
see.
No,
That's the thing.
No,
What- see,
no.
that's what- that's-
It is not. Well, for me,
This is
Marco,
why. Hold on, I'm going to let you finish your point. I'm going to let you finish your point.
it does not work like that. Like, it really has to be a conversation. So, like, for example, it's Pride weekend here in Atlanta. Dating, not me, just hypothetically speaking, dating someone, oh, babe, you know, you want to go out and have a little fun this weekend. Okay. Every man for itself. Maybe we come back to the house, have a little conversation, whatever the case may be, and we good. Like,
Baby, I'm going to push back and say Pride weekend will be the weekend I would tell you absolutely fucking not.
but if it's an open relationship, it doesn't matter. Like,
That's the
communication is
thing.
key.
yeah,
What is
and
the
we're
rules?
communicating that it's Pride and that we want to go out and be hoes.
But he said no.
What is the rules for?
What if he said no?
Yeah.
Okay, then. So it's off the table.
So that doesn't make no sense to me. Like, you can't pick and choose when you want me to be open. Either we're open or we're not.
But communication is first. Open is not first.
Well,
Nope.
I feel like they go hand in hand.
No.
I have
For
friends straight
Marco,
and gay.
communication is first, and then open is second.
I have
As
friends
long
that
as
are
we're-
straight and gay that have been open relationships, and everybody like has rules to their open relationships. They really do. Like, I have a female friend who is straight. She was in an open relationship, and their thing was you can't hook up with the same person more than twice, because if you're hooking up with them more than twice, you're starting to develop feelings. So I'm
I
like,
can agree with that.
okay. But then there are some people that is just like, okay, you can hook up with them, but I don't want to know who it is. So there's like a lot of
be
different
me
things
too.
that go into rules. So it's like, you can't really, if it's open, it's open. And you, like Marco said, communication is key. But for me and my house, no.
I don't think I
I
can
ain't
do it
doing it.
physically, because if I truly love you, give a fuck about you, it would kill me knowing somebody just touches what's mine. However, I think I have a couple of people that I know in open relationships, and y'all all for it, and then y'all have issues because this one talking to this one doing this one to come home at 5:06 and 6:30, you blow up their phone. What's the fuck is the point?
But what if one of the rules is we only play together? That's still an open relationship.
That wasn't their rule.
No, I'm just saying, what if?
I'm talking about what I know from what I was
Oh, from these people.
from these
Hold on.
experiences.
I have a question.
Let's get. I want to say let's get out the specifics of that.
Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. This is me open.
You love to grill people on the show, right?
I'm sorry.
But
like,
question, you wouldn't have an open relationship. Would you participate in one? Have you been to somebody else's house that you know got a man?
I would say this. So this is a true fucking story. I knew that this one guy slid in my DM, and I knew that he was in a relationship. I said, add your man to this thread, and if he say okay, I'm fucking with it.
So did you go over
Communication is
there?
key.
He never did it, because I just mean he was cheating on his partner. I don't like that. Oh, we open. Well, add him to the conversation. If he say cool, you
So
come
the
on right
question
now.
was, have you participated in somebody else's open
Not
relationship?
knowingly.
So yes. Girl, yes or no? She said,
Not knowingly, like,
so it's a yes, baby.
Yeah, just
I
say
can't say yes because
Yes, you can.
You
Just do it. Just say
Solomon,
yes. Just say
have
yes.
you participated in an open relationship?
Well, can we go back to the first question?
Let's rewind.
So would I have an open relationship? I don't think I'm mature enough right now to say yes.
Okay.
honesty. I don't like that.
Yeah, I think that for what I'm looking for, I would definitely want to experience my partner by myself.
Yeah.
If later down the line, maybe some years, we decided to open up the relationship, maybe. But again, rules. Now, to your second question. Have I participated in an open relationship? Oh, God, I feel like I'm drooling.
Not you drooling thinking about your participation. I know that's right, girl.
Good time.
I have knowingly.
Knowingly. So you knew it was an open relationship and you
Don't do that
said,
because you knew too.
ooh.
Did-
Yes, you did.
Jay,
Excuse me. I was gonna say,
Jay just brought this.
you picking up all this tea but not spilling none.
Where is your tea at, sweetie?
I have been in an open relationship.
You've been in one and participated in one?
Wait, so how does it work in your household?
We have rules, and
Such as?
to I'll tell you. But to Marco's point, communication was quintessential. It did not exist, but we got in day one knowing that it was an open relationship. So there used to be this club called the Den.
Oh.
Oh, baby.
We met at the Den, and
Everybody turn their heads.
Can you tell the people what the Den is?
Okay.
so
Or
the
what the Den was.
The
What
Den
it
was.
Reason being,
peace to the
honestly,
motherfucking
I'm not being
Den.
shady, but we have openers that be like, y'all have too many inside jokes.
Yeah,
Some
we
people
do.
don't
Okay,
understand.
so the Den was a sex club primarily for black men.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never experienced anything like it until I moved to Atlanta. But I won't say that, but I will say that my ex and I met at the Den.
Mm-hmm.
And we started out as a hookup, and I knew we were not exclusive at that point. But then we made the decision to start dating. And what made it comfortable for me is that because we started from a place of non-monogamy, everything had to become a conversation. Like we had to figure out, well, what do you mean when you say this? What do you mean when you say, don't tell me about it? What do you mean when you say, I don't like this person, or I want to know who you having sex with, or I don't want to know? Like all these things have to be defined specifically for us. And so I appreciated that because I had a lot more conversation with him about our relationship and what was on limits and off limits than I had with anybody else. And the fun fact is, this open relationship, we were together for 2 years and neither of us had sex with anybody else, although we knew that we could. The openness came from, we had a lot of conversations that monogamous couples just don't have. Like, what kind of men do you like aside from me? Is there something sexually that I don't do? Is there something sexual I could do so you don't have to go look anywhere? Like we asked each other all of these questions in a way that allowed us to be like, okay, well, I can do that if you want me to. Do you want to get tied up? Sure, let's try it. Do you want to do this?
Wear some lace panties, right?
Panties, or fucking outside, or all these different things. We understood each other's kinks. We understood each other's fetishes. We understood everything about it to where we didn't need to go anywhere. It wasn't that we couldn't. It was off limits. It's just we had a rapport between the two of us where we didn't need to.
I think that's interesting because I don't remember what the theory is called. I can't call it off the top of my head, but essentially it says like we only break rules because there's rules there. And if there aren't rules and if they're removed, you don't break them. So it seems like since you guys broke that like fourth wall about it, you just said it was 2 years and it was open, but you didn't go nowhere because you broke the fourth wall.
But the interesting thing is we had some very hard rules. Like we could not fuck in our friend circle. We did not even look at friends in that way. Even if it was his friends or mine, I couldn't even approach his friends for anything like that.
I think that's important.
So that was we did have
definitely important.
We did have certain rules that we could not break. But the gotcha is if he told me, because this actually happened, if he told me I got eyes for this person, because that was my rule. If you want to fuck somebody, just let me know first and give me the right of refusal. I never had to refuse, but he said, I like this person. And I would be like, well, what do you like about him? And why do you want to fuck him? And all of this. And we held each other accountable to have enough of a conversation where we understood where we were coming from. And if he said, well, because his dick is bigger than mine, great, go in, let have. But if he said it's because he makes me feel this way, or he whatever, then we could figure out if there was a way for us to fix our relationship to meet that need, or is it something you got to go somewhere else for?
So basically you could, for lack of a better term, you could recreate what he was actually fantasizing about this boy if it was possible.
Emphasis on fantasize, because one thing we were clear on is we're not going to change who we are.
Right.
Like if you want a masculine man, somebody super butch, I can't be that. I can play that, but I ain't gonna butch it up.
Role play's fun.
Role play is fun, but we had to ask. I had to, because masculinity is a thing that I just don't have a lot of. So we had to figure out, like, do you want a masculine fantasy, or do you want me to be more masculine? Because those are two different topics.
So communication is key. I like it.
But again, all of this was called an open relationship, even though we didn't act on it. But what that allowed us to do is ask all these questions that these are conversations I've never had in anything I've ever been monogamous in. And that is the one thing that I latch on to. And the funny thing is, since then, every time I say I would love, and I explain it just the same way, everybody's like, nope, I'm good. Because they want traditional monogamy. They don't want any of this kind of communication. They don't want to even broach these topics because they're so married to the idea of monogamy they have in their head. And I ain't with that.
Before we go forward, I know we got other questions. I think the problem with, for lack of a better term, the problem that happens with most couples is like people start monogamous and then they try to go open. That's where it fucks up.
There you go.
Because it's like monogamous and then one person's like, well, boo, like I need some different booty or I need some different dick to sit on. And the other person's like, well, I don't want you to do that. And then it's like, okay, now we have a button of heads. And now you're seeing one person is an open relationship and other person's not.
Or they try to use open relationship to fix some other problem.
Other issue.
And instead of just dealing with the other issue. And I don't think opening a relationship is ever a solution to anything. I think that if you got some fucked up shit some skeletons in the closet, clean out the fucking closet. Let's not open a new door. Let's go deal with the closet.
Before we go on, last thing, I'm gonna get toe up for this. Please stop making these open relationships when y'all be the same sexual preference. It don't work.
Like
it's
two
annoying
bottoms,
where it be like two tops, be like, oh, we're just gonna invite bottoms every time. It does not work. Tear me up. I don't care. That's terrible. So you're about to say you've been in an open relationship? Is that what you're gonna say?
No, that's not what I'm gonna say.
I was making sure because you're saying well.
Because you might be emotionally attached to this individual that has a sexual preference as a top or a bottom reverse.
So now you got to invite a bottom in every single time y'all want to have sex.
That's too much for me.
Every single time because y'all strict tops. Remember, boo.
Yeah, but communication is key. You're gonna know that at the beginning.
So you're a sword fighter.
He's versatile.
Yes.
But
I'm saying like if you're like 100% at the top, and you always got invited
But if I
bottom
have an
in.
emotional connection with this person, why can't, if we have a emotional connection with each other,
Right, you see it already.
Why can't we go out and find a bottom together, play with them, and then send them?
And then find another one the next time you want to have sex. Then
or
find another
make
one.
that person our boyfriend.
So now you have an open relationship.
Versatile
Yeah.
perspective, though. Like
Why doesn't it make
You can
sense?
think that way because when you actually get to a bedroom, you got options.
Hello.
But
If
you're
you
thinking
are-
about
if
that.
you're
You
a
were
total
100%
top
top.
or
Like
a
nobody's touching
total
my
bottom.
booty hole or nobody's touching my dingling. Like, because there are people like that.
Child.
I mean,
I don't
maybe,
think
I don't know.
think emotions are ever big enough to overshadow the sexual desires of a partner. I think emotions are important. I think sex is important, but I don't think one of those is ever big enough to compensate.
Because these niggas have
I
sex
got a
without
good
emotions all the
example.
time.
Mr.
Oh,
Bolden
God.
and Feds.
Oh my God.
Next question, Tamika, for you not get what you need from me.
There were two tops. They got a relationship. Fucking bottoms down, and they broke up because they couldn't handle it.
Allegedly, there was a
couldn't
video of
handle
one
what?
of them
Allegedly,
that
you're
was
right.
getting pound down on Twitter. So I don't think they were both two tops, but maybe. Don't quote me. I don't want to get sued. Allegedly.
Oh, girl.
Allegedly.
Send me the link.
I want to watch too.
Allegedly, one person was on Twitter upset because
For
somebody
research
released the
purposes.
footage.
Yeah,
But
for
allegedly.
For research purposes.
Put in the group chat.
So, so do y'all have any questions from y'all openers? Because that came from people who sent me those directly.
Let me get. I'll check my Palm Pilot.
Somebody wants to know if Marco wears panties, right?
I do. I like lace, a little leather, a little sheer.
But he said that on.
I said
that
it.
before.
I do. So the thing about underwear. So I love underwear. I'm always like.
What kind of underwear you wear now?
Ooh.
Oh, damn.
I actually, what do I got on today?
You don't
Like
know
a
what kind
Speedo
of-
type. No, because I
Like a
look-
Speedo.
It's like, girl, you don't
No,
know what kind of
Speedo
panties
type.
you got on?
So, but then they also got like the thin stripe around the hips.
So-
But yeah, I just love underwear. I think
That's shit for y'all
underwear.
skinny girls. Y'all skinny girls can pull that off.
I don't know. I love underwear. I
got
think
too much
underwear.
belly for that.
So you know what? You know what? Let's take it to a more political stance. How do y'all feel like gay rights will be in the next 20 years, going the direction we are in? And what does that mean to you having gay rights?
Question.
I will say if everyone does not wake up, no one's gonna have any rights, to be very honest. Prior to working in consulting, I worked in politics. And one of my mentors always told me, if you didn't have a seat at the table with your voice, you were on the table, which means you were being ate. You were the meal. So what I think we're realizing now is a lot of people are realizing they're on the table, so they're trying to get a seat. And instead of saying, let's just bring more seats to the table, we're fighting over seats. So we have, I hate to use this example, but we have a lot of black folks stand up for taking gay rights, like being gay ain't right, but they fail to realize, like, okay, take my gay seat, but next a white person's going to take your seat, and then you're going to be on the table. So I think if we don't all wake up, we're not going to be in a predicament where we can actually have rights, because first they're going to take gay rights, then it's going to go to possibly black rights, then women's rights, and then everybody's rights. Like. It's a bad cycle that's happening if people don't wake up.
But people are taking women's rights
Yeah, it's
as
sad.
we speak.
Yes.
They're taking gay rights as we speak too.
And black
Agreed. I think that all of those, and black affirmative action, abortion, and gay marriage apparently is on the docket. So all of those things are happening in concert, which is the unfortunate part.
But I think that's because we are putting them in boxes. We're compartmentalizing them. But when we realize that gay rights is black rights, women rights is black rights, when we realize, because you have black gay women, you have black gay men, you have...
It's 5 of them here.
I'm straight.
Girl, spaghetti is straight till it get hot.
A meatball.
Emphasis on balls.
But the thing is, like,
Everything was so nice.
you know, we have, like, especially when I look at the black community, right? You know, you have straight individuals who are against black gay males. You have straight individuals who are against trans. You have straight individuals who are against, you know, whatever. And so the thing is like, we have to look at an individual experience as a collective experience. And so when we are able to do that, then we can actually come to the table with information, right? And we can actually come to the table and also advocate for other seats. Because it's not just my seat. My seat is not the only important seat. I have to be concerned about your seat too.
Can you say the kingdom quote?
Oh, so I don't remember where I got it from. I think I saw it on Twitter when I was scrolling for other stuff. But
Wow.
what? But the individual said that, you know,
anytime it needs to.
yes, the individual said that, you know, you can't be the king of the kingdom. You can't be the queen of the kingdom and not advocate or not protect everybody in your kingdom. And so when I think about politics, when I think about gay rights in the future, I think about like how I show up, right? And I have to think about like all the people around me who are affected by gay rights. Because I could be a gay parent, right? One day, and then my child be straight. I can be a parent one day to a female. So I have to think about everybody in the circle.
But I think that's I was told a long time ago that is the definition of stigma. Stigma is when you think that something can't happen to you.
Right.
That I am a parent and I'm going to advocate against transgender rights, not knowing that one day I could have a trans kid, or I'm gonna be homophobic, not knowing that, you know, I got a homophobic brother or cousin. I got a cousin that used to call everybody a faggot, but until he realized, oh, here you go, my cousin, I love you, but you ain't like them. Yes, nigga, I am. I'm one of the girls. Unique.
But, you know, I can't remember which politician it was. It was a white older male, and he was against gay rights. He voted against gay rights, but then he showed up at his gay son's wedding. And
John McCain.
I can't remember. I don't think it was John McCain, but it could have been.
John McCain got a gay kid.
But there was so much backlash. But then I was thinking about it. I was like, as a parent, I don't care what your politics are. Like, and I think about, like, if I were to partner with someone, I don't care what your politics, well, I do care what your politics are. But if we have a kid and you don't support our kid, we're done. We're absolutely done.
That's true.
And so, like, I also think about value systems. And so, like, your politics could be here, but your family could be here. And so it really just depends on where you place your level of importance.
And people fear the unknown until it happens to them. Then when it happens to them, they realize they have to, like, okay, I have to learn about this. I have to figure this out. I have to know more about it.
Absolutely.
And that's true. That's one thing I do like when we have conversations. Like, why are you speaking about something you don't know about? You're not experiencing. We have people every day in politics are speaking on people they have no connection with, making laws they have no connection with. And I love how you both said, bring a new seat to the table. I think even corporations, you should have everyone who is a C. What you call that person at the table?
C-suite.
You had a CEO. You had a board. You have a board member that represent every somebody in your company. How can you have board of people, white people, and they speak for everyone? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's how government should be too. Like,
but the flip side of that is we don't have a lot of representative people that are running and winning, because we have had many LGBT candidates across the country that just don't win because of several systemically racist practices against us, gerrymandering, redlining, all those things. And so the hard part about the table is that getting a seat at the table is so tremendously difficult for marginalized people that as well intentioned as we are, the deck is stacked against us in so many different ways, in ways that we don't even realize is stacked against us. And that's the fucked up part, because that goes back to racism and segregation and slavery and all the things. Because the white people, Republicans and Democrats back in the period of enslavement, they've been working on the same game plan for like 200 years of keeping white people in power. 400 years keeping white people in power, and the minority voice has been fractured among all these different motivations that we haven't unified like white people have. White people, John McCain, Mitt Romney, what's the man who just had a stroke on the thing? The old white
Senator
man.
McCall.
What's his
He
name?
from Tennessee.
Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
I can't think of his name.
But not the only thing I can.
He the oldest white man in there.
Up there, he was silent.
Yeah, the only thing I can now hear in my head is McCall.
It's was something.
Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But they are working on the same playbook, the same end result for generations. And I think that we got to have a big enough goal in mind for our people that we can work on a big goal for generations the same way. We would start redlining the shit out of them, and if we had that. But that's just
I will say this though. I want to make sure, because it was some good YT people who try to help black people. I want to acknowledge that. I do. Because we wouldn't have got where we are by ourselves, because we didn't know what was going on. You got some good people out there. So I think what's happening now, that we need to band together with the good white folks and get our majority up.
But also, I think even for me, just before that, we need to band together with us. Like, this conversation is a perfect example of how people will let a small disagreement turn into a Grand Canyon of difference. And I think that as a culture of minority, marginalized people, we got to find some common ground that can align us against a common enemy, as this conversation has.
I will add, I think the first thing we have to address is where we spend our money. A lot of black folk don't understand the power of a dollar. There's stats that's like in the Jewish community, like the dollar hits their community like 7 times before it exits or something. In the black community, they say it hits it like 1 time, then it exits. So it's like, we don't understand the power of our dollar. Once we like move our dollars to like match what we're saying and hit people in their pockets, these white people in their pockets, or whoever we're wanting to stick it to at that point, we'll probably band together. But until then, and stop fighting each other about dumb shit, it's going to be a long journey.
And I don't even think it has to be a matter of sticking it to somebody.
Stick it.
I really think it's just a matter of supporting.
We got to stick
No
it.
lube.
I think it's just a matter of supporting, because like even this weekend I was at Atlantic Station, right? And I was walking through the little vendors. It was hot as hell.
Did you stick it to him?
He likes to get stuck.
Or was it sticking to you?
Was it sticking to you?
E-stretch.
All of the above. So I saw this young vendor, high schooler, and he was selling these shirts. These hats, but he also had shirts and hoodies, and it says "Love Yourself." And yeah,
I didn't see that.
well, yeah, because it was backwards. But it was. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like that.
That was a little fast, but
My bad. But
over it.
just the idea, you have this kid coming out of high school and he's starting a brand. And it wasn't about sticking it to anybody. It was just a matter of like, I want to support this young black person, right? And then there were other vendors out there who I was like, I just want to support them. And I think if we have an interest in supporting, say what? I think if we actually have an interest in supporting people, especially people who look like us, I think that goes a lot further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, guys.
Because we can talk all night, baby.
Yo, it's coming. This is going to be good. We might have to do a panel in the future.
Ooh, a panel would
something
be
working
nice.
on. I got some.
Maybe a live show, Chad.
Something working in the future.
Sell out in the ATL.
But we would not be where we are today for season 2 without our great producer, Gio. So I want to make sure that we give Gio and
Yeah, shout out
Mega
to Gio.
Atlanta Studios.
I would turn the camera, but I ain't part of the production team, Chad.
So if you're looking for a studio home, a podcast home, I would recommend this place 10 out of 10. Like, he's very professional and he gets shit done. And I can't take that from him. Thank you, Gio.
But if you want his contact information, you gotta tell me.
You gotta pay for my stuff.
Okay.
You see the play.
Wait, get the plate, baby. Hold on. Here we go, baby. It jangles. So Solomon, take us out.
All right. Thank you, openers, for watching us and coming and joining the 5 of us as we swallow hard topics and spit difference of opinions.
Bye,
And
guys.
stick it to
Episode.
Stick it to him.